Beneath the grand and storied Appian Way, the very artery of the Roman Empire, lay a sprawling, silent city of the dead. The crypts and catacombs. These vast underground labyrinths were not just burial sites, but sacred resting places for generations of Romans. Their final peace fiercely protected by tradition and reverence. To disturb this solemn repose was to invite a chilling curse born from the very finality of death itself, the Roman crypts of the Appian Way. This was a curse not of a single, vengeful spirit, but of a pervasive spiritual cold, a silent torment of isolation and cosmic dread. Our story begins in the late 4th century AD, a time when Christianity was on the rise and many of the old traditions were waning. Cassius Valerius, a prominent but disillusioned Roman scholar, believed the old ways to be primitive superstition. He was obsessed with acquiring a complete collection of funeral artifacts for his private gallery, a pursuit that led him to the darkest, most secluded crypts of the Appian Way. He saw the tombs not as sacred ground, but as historical treasures ripe for the taking. He ordered his men to plunder the crypts, taking statues, inscriptions, and personal effects, laughing at the ancient warnings carved in stone. As Cassius's collection grew, a subtle, insidious change began to plague him. His once bustling villa became a place of profound solitude. His friends and family, once a constant presence, grew distant and unresponsive, their faces seeming to blur and their voices to fade. He found himself utterly alone, surrounded by his treasures, but unable to connect with anyone. The vibrant sounds of the city's life seemed to dim, replaced by a deafening silence. The true curse of the Roman crypts of the Appian Way was a spiritual echo of ultimate isolation. The crypts, as a sacred resting place for the dead, were steeped in the spiritual essence of finality. Cassius, by desecrating them, had ruptured the delicate balance, and in doing so, inflicted upon himself the very state of the dead, an existence of profound separation from the world of the living. The curse was a relentless psychological torment that slowly unraveled his connections to humanity, ensuring that he, though still alive, would become an isolated ghost in his own life. Driven to despair by his unbearable loneliness and the deafening silence that followed him everywhere, Cassius sought the counsel of a reclusive, elderly priest who still clung to the old beliefs. The priest, seeing the hollowness in Cassius's eyes, explained that the finality of death was not meant to be violated. Cassius, by stealing from the dead, had spiritually traded places with them. Only an act of profound, selfless reunion could lift the curse. Humbled and broken, Cassius made a desperate decision. He painstakingly returned every artifact he had stolen, carrying them back into the dark crypts. He didn't just place them where they were found. He performed personal, respectful rituals, speaking prayers of apology and remembrance. He invited a small group of friends and family, and, in a profound act of penance, held a shared meal and read aloud the names of the dead he had wronged. Reconnecting himself with the bonds of humanity in the very heart of the place he had desecrated. Slowly, the isolating silence lifted. The faces of his loved ones became clear again, their voices vibrant. The pervasive spiritual cold receded, replaced by the profound warmth of connection. The Roman crypts of the Appian Way, their sanctity restored, finally released their grip. Cassius lived the rest of his life not as a collector, but as a quiet advocate for preserving historical integrity. A changed man who understood that some curses are not brought by active malice, but by violating the natural order of life and death, ensuring that the very isolation of the grave will be brought to the living. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.